If you are like the majority of Americans, you want to continue living in a familiar environment throughout your maturing years. In fact, according to many surveys, 82% of homeowners overwhelmingly prefer to age in place, which means living in their current homes safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age or ability level. With over 30 years of combined experience in residential, commercial, hospitality, and destination resorts fields, Your Home for a Lifetime is a company dedicated to empowering you to maintain your quality of life and independence by helping you make your house your home for a lifetime. Do you want to reorganize or remodel your home? Do you want to add a full bathroom and possibly a bedroom on the main floor? Are you looking to make your kitchen more functional? Is an aging parent moving in, or your child is moving out, or even moving back in? Call Your Home for a Lifetime at 949-492-1872 or check them out on the web at yourhomeforalifetime.com and find out how they can help you make your house your home for a lifetime. Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Raad on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Raad.
Welcome, welcome.
Good afternoon.
You know, we were doing a show there about working wardrobes, and you are working your wardrobe today here. That's all I got to say.
Did you stay up late to come up with that one?
I did.
He gets paid well to do things
You are
like that.
Show the camera, the interior of the wardrobe.
You really need me?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you guys can see it. Okay, hold on. Can you see it?
It's very nice.
Yes.
Very
it's
nice.
Perfectly tailored.
Yes.
Perfectly tailored.
Absolutely.
Paul is making. I don't know if it's me. He's making fun. Are you making fun, or are you reflecting back on your days?
My Hollywood days.
Your Hollywood days.
My hippie days.
It's a custom tailored jacket that I got as a gift, and it actually has a leopard print for a liner.
But it's not from your normal tailor, so you're kind of cheating on your tailor here.
Why did you out me? With friends like this, I swear. Yes, I actually was approached by a tailor, and they tried to entice me, and I tried to, kind of make it really difficult for them to come through. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'd like some leopard print on my liner, and.
You do that, I might wear it.
Lo and behold, they delivered. So now I need to either learn how to play the guitar or start singing like Mick Jagger if I'm going to walk around wearing this thing, which I'm not going to do
So
either.
when you now go before the city councils to fight the toll road, as we're going to talk about here today, is this what you wear? Is this the flash?
You know what's funny? So, I mean, obvious. Okay, so let me just set the stage for what we're going to talk about today. I know it's a surprise for a lot of people that we're going to talk about toll road. Okay.
Toll roads?
Good.
You never talked about that before.
I never talk about toll roads, right? So we're going to talk about toll roads. And I've got a special guest in the studio, and we've got a great friend of mine who is leading the charge, one of the ladies that's leading the charge, that's going to be joining us on the phone as well. But here's the thing. Yesterday, we had a situation where we were all very engrossed in and involved in Mission Viejo doing a resolution to support the toll road agency, and we basically showed up. A whole bunch of people from San Clemente showed up, and they spoke against that resolution. It was an unnecessary resolution, as was verbalized by Council Member Greg Ratz, who's also a friend of the show, and I appreciate Greg for basically bringing in some sanity to that discussion. But there was no reason for Mission Viejo to take a position on a resolution.
One way or another, really. It doesn't affect them.
Well, not only that. No. They said it affects them because they said that they were ground zero. The mayor of Mission Viejo said that they were ground zero for the toll road and for freeways and how it's been impacting of their lives and all of this stuff for so long. And then what does she do? They turn around and actually vote on a resolution that would be okay to take that misery that they said that basically we need to give them empathy for,
right,
and basically unleash it on San Clemente.
Right. Pass it on down.
Yeah. So basically, morally, completely
But as your guest will tell you, and as I've told you 1,000 times, the problem with this whole fight is it's been city by city. As it impacts a community, they rise up. And the rest of the communities go, I don't care.
Well, I don't think that's...
I don't care.
You
guys weren't riled up when it went through my town or when it went through Laguna Beach.
I'll tell you, Paul, that may have been the case in the past, but this week, okay, there on John and Ken, there was actually coverage of a lawsuit in the Inland Empire against the 91 freeway toll road. Mm-hmm. And it's been filed, and basically they had their first day in court this week. And it made it on KFI. This topic of the taxation, the toll tax, okay, the appropriation of publicly paid for roadways and turning them into lanes, toll lanes, the abdication of responsibility of agencies like the OCTA for taking care of transportation and mobility issues and basically privatizing them. Like we were trying to privatize or thinking about privatizing the war in Afghanistan this week. I couldn't even believe it, right? To contract it out to an agency that basically has eminent domain power and is answerable to nobody, okay, that issues multi-million-dollar contracts when they basically are fiscally defunct, okay?
And
that fight, sorry, Laura, but that fight, okay, is no longer a fight limited to South Orange County. Now it's a fight, and especially with 2018 coming up and the potential recession coming up, okay, and the aging of a county like Orange County, where it's people that basically, we had a lady that was almost in tears yesterday, okay, and so what do I get, where I was going with this, that linking it to the leopard, is basically one person on one of the Facebook pages says, oh, San Clemente, crocodile tears.
And NIMBY, which
right, and NIMBY, not in my backyard. Well, no. Where do you draw the backyard? Because it's everywhere. But here's the thing. I told that person, you're saying that San Clemente's crocodile tears, where you got to remember that crocodiles also have very sharp teeth. Okay? And leopards have claws. All right? So you want to mess with San Clemente, an affluent enough society to write its own checks for legal battles, and you want to basically pit yourself. Paul, when I walked in here, Paul says, oh no, toll road again. And he said, and then when we were calling to arrange for people to call in, he says, he said, well, by the way, Raad just got a call from the toll road agency.
Yeah, but here's a flash. We had a news flash. You're all here to protest and talk about the efforts in San Clemente to try and stop this toll road that has already progressed 90% of the way through other communities, and they didn't stop it. Laguna Beach didn't stop it at the canyon. Others didn't stop it.
It stopped at South Pasadena, buddy, for years.
They did.
Right.
So, when in doubt, what do? The toll road agencies, I don't know if I should really admit this, but Raad was on the phone when I walked in here, and he had a big smile on his face. I said, what? He said, they just made me a big settlement. So he's now for the toll roads.
And what did I tell you? I said, nothing in the world, no amount of money in the world would basically make me want to be on the wrong side of these engaged and active,
you did say that,
battle-hardened ladies in San Clemente.
So I think
because anybody who's stupid enough to do that has no clue. You know, they say Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires.
Yes.
Okay. San Clemente ain't too far from being the graveyard of every single single idiot out-of-towner who hadn't have a clue how that community comes together.
We'll introduce your guest. Bring the community on here. All right.
So on the phone, I have Michelle Schumacher, who is many things, including the co-founder of the NotMyTollRoad.com. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How's that for like being very downplaying the whole thing? And in the studio, I have my friend Laura. And Laura, introduce yourself.
Hello, Laura Conoval. I am a San Clemente resident, local businesswoman, real estate broker, wife and mother.
And let me just do a little housekeeping here. For anybody who's listening to us who would like to call in and talk to the ladies or share your experiences, anybody who has spoken at any of these things in the last 3 months, we've been talking about this on the show. Paul, what's the number they can call in on?
949-330-7762. We can't use the 61 line because your other guest is on that one right now here, but 7762.
Okay.
Operators standing by.
So and you can listen to us by going to OC Talk. I mean, I guess you're listening to us, but you can go listen to us, or you can share with people who are interested with this
on Facebook
by going to Facebook's OC Talk Radio page or the Raad Life page.
Yes, let's get it on.
And the YouTube station for OC Talk Radio, as well as simply going on to octalkradio.net and hitting the Listen Live button. So if you're in your car, get it up on your phone, push the Listen Live button, it channels through your Bluetooth, okay, if you have a new enough car that has Bluetooth. Paul's car doesn't have Bluetooth.
My car doesn't have Bluetooth.
Okay. All right.
Old.
So Michelle, we've been talking about this on this show for 3 months. But this fight goes a lot farther than 3 months, right?
Oh, yes. The last 18 years.
Give us some background.
When did they start building the toll road? When was it first proposed? When did they first break ground? Seems like it's been going on forever.
Well, I can tell you kind of the history for San Clemente. I don't have the exact date of when they broke ground.
Okay.
I know that Laguna Beach was very concerned when they wanted to come, close to the canyon. And fortunately, through that battle, a lot of open space was preserved in Laguna Beach. So that was one good thing that came out of that battle.
But they wanted to stop it at the canyon there, El Toro, where the canyon went through, because it was a pristine canyon, and they were horrified that they were going to build a freeway through a pristine canyon.
Exactly.
And the argument was, though, which has continued to be, well, gee, we think we need this, and the only place to do it is through pristine land. The park area they were talking about in South County, just above Trestles there, or the canyons or whatever. Seems like, the first argument is, do they need it? And if they do, then how are they going to do it, and where are they going to do it? And that seems to be the two arguments that everybody goes around and around. Do we need it? And if we do, then where are they going to do it? How are they going to do it?
Let's get back to that, because the do we need it, nobody is going to argue with the fact that improvements in mobility is something everybody wants.
They're widening the 5 freeway.
It's not the yes or no. It's the how. It's always in the details. It's always in the details. Anybody who's lived long enough to go through solutions for things knows it's always in how you go about doing it. And how you preface the question from the very beginning, defining the problem, predetermines what acceptable solutions you're going to look for. So if your acceptable solution, the only way to improve mobility is to build monstrous concrete bridges that are flying over people's homes, then you're not going to accept anything else. It's a known fallacy when you basically are putting together a CEQA document or an environmental impact report that you make the project objectives exactly what you want to end up with. Because you're saying that nothing else was going to be acceptable or meet the project objectives. That is not only a fallacy, every time somebody has been called on it, it basically destroys their EIR. Right? So I don't know why people continue to do this, like everybody is a dumb and doesn't know. This is not our first rodeo. It may be San Juan Capistrano who has the rodeo, but I'll tell you this. I've lived in San Clemente for 30 years. This is not our first rodeo. Okay?
So let's ask
we don't get bucked off the
because that has been an
easily.
argument that we don't need a toll road. And in fact, the argument is supported by the fact that the toll roads never met the expectations in traffic that they've thought.
Paul, sorry, I've got people that are trying to call in, and they're saying that the 7762 goes to a fax line.
It does. So I have to answer it quickly.
Right.
Before the fax goes on.
So if anybody's trying to call in, I apologize. We did kind of switch the numbers around a little bit.
Okay.
But we do have somebody calling in, so let's take them while we still can here, ladies.
Okay.
Who's on?
And unfortunately, I got to put your other guest on hold.
Michelle, let's put you on hold for a minute, and we'll talk to Laura here a little bit about the real estate side of this argument. Laura, is there support for a no toll road position from the real estate industry?
Oh, absolutely. There are so many of us that are adamantly opposed to the toll road running through our town for a variety of reasons, namely, oh my gosh, the health and well-being of all of the families of potentially up to 9,000 homes that the toll road could be built above, near, possible eminent domain. That's not 100% clear just yet, but there will be a tremendous loss in value.
Let's try and see if we get this guest in here.
Okay, sure.
Are you on with us?
Yes, are you on the air?
Are you on the air with us?
Yes, I'm on the air. It's a little bit difficult to hear the sound. It's a little bit low.
All right, I'll try that. Is that any better?
Okay, that's much better. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Welcome. I'm sure we're having difficulty getting call-ins here, but we'll keep working on it. So identify yourself and what's your comment?
My name is Gada Faz. I'm a resident of San Clemente. I've been there for about over 20 years. My family lives there. My parents live there. My husband and I decided to move from Los Angeles to raise our family there for a better quality of life and open space. And the reason I'm calling in today is to express my dismay at the TCA's plan to build a toll road through Orange County, an extension of the 241 toll road through South Orange County, And more specifically, it seems that their preferred route is Route 14, which goes right through San Clemente, through our beautiful town, and cuts it in half, and travels over homes, over schools and parks, and will just very negatively impact people's home values and quality of life.
Established neighborhoods, built-out community, through land that is mitigated land that was set aside as part of the agreements with developers when they were given the okay to build.
The park and stuff that they built, yeah.
This is unprecedented, right? Where a freeway is built over an established town. We have neighborhoods that are completed, and we have schools that are completed. I've never heard of anything like this.
In fact, I believe the rules about running freeways near schools is that you don't approve school development within certain distance from freeways.
That's right.
So this is the exact opposite. This is actually impacting existing neighborhoods and schools and children and homes for retirees and seniors.
Rod, you're exactly right. There's a loophole, in that jurisdiction where schools cannot be built within 500 feet of a road. However, roads can be. So it's just completely
Which, you know
opposite.
what, nobody ever wrote that thing for that loophole in mind. What they did is they were trying to protect future development from the impact of existing dangers.
Right.
So to basically, someone didn't think that somebody would be so irrational and so irresponsible, okay, that they would basically take a situation that does not exist as far as a threat and actually unleash a threat.
That's right.
So can I ask you the hard question of your caller, though, here, that
Sure,
we're
go ahead.
trying to bring up? Because I bring this up, and maybe it's too little too late. Maybe it's no point in saying this, but there was a fight earlier. This isn't just started. Were you there fighting it when it went through Laguna Beach or Laguna Canyon or other places that were just as angry as San Clemente but lost that fight?
You know, I was not aware of the fight at the time. Like I said, we lived in Los Angeles, and we moved down here. We've been in San Clemente on and off for the past 20 years. I've had family living here, for the past
'Cause my contention is that that's how they keep winning. It's one community at a time fights it rather than all. If all the communities had banded together early on.
Slight difference, Paul.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely.
Divide and conquer.
Part of the reason that I am calling in today also is just to express my dismay at our neighboring communities. You know, I listened to Mission Viejo council members yesterday go through what they seem to think was a fair process of voting for the TCA to continue to, as they claimed, investigate, options in a fair manner to see what solutions they can come up with. Well, the TCA has not been transparent in the process. The TCA, I don't believe, has any interest in exploring any options. In fact, they have 18 options on the table, most of which are not even feasible. They might as well be taken off.
Well, and also not within their jurisdiction. Say they're throwing everything, including double. As a city council member, I'll tell you how out of touch of San Clemente some of these people are. Okay, Ed Sachs, I'm calling him. I have avoided calling Ed Sachs out for the last 3 months. I'm calling him. Okay, I'm calling him out. Ed Sachs, who basically sits as a representative ahead of a TCA, one of the agencies. I believe it's the San Joaquin. Okay, and is a city council member, Mayor Pro Temp, I believe, in Mission Viejo. Okay,
yes.
Actually, yesterday said that they're looking at all options, including. Are you listening, San Clemente? Listen to this. Open your ears. Okay. Ed Sachs, Mayor Pro Temp of Mission Viejo, actually said that they're looking at all options, that no options are done. There's no 241 extension approved. But you know what some of the options they're looking at are? Double tracking the railroad through San Clemente on the beach. Remember that fight about derail the rail? Remember the fight that took away that took away the double track and put in a beach trail? Ed Sachs from Mission Viejo basically said one of the things that they are looking at possibly, didn't say they agreed to it or not, is doing a double track. That means the beach trail in San Clemente that we all basically championed, that we basically got awarded for, that has been one of the most used resources. As far as he's concerned, that's also an option. So all these options that they basically, throw at us as being, we're so open, we're looking at 18 options, bullshit. Excuse me, all right? We're not.
If I could just make a comment, I attended the TCA meeting a few weeks ago, and one of the residents from San Clemente who came up and spoke actually invited the TCA board members to come to San Clemente, to come to our neighborhood where this proposed Route 14 is going to go through, and speak to the residents face to face and actually tell them that it's okay. It doesn't matter that your home is going to be underneath a concrete wall or barrier or freeway. It's okay. I would like to invite them again and ask them to come and speak to the residents. Come to Ground Zero and come to speak to the residents face to face. Don't sit in a meeting behind computers, behind cell phones, and just make these proclamations that, you know what, it's not too bad.
But
it is bad.
But you're asking somebody, okay, and I'm sorry, but you're asking somebody to actually behave in a manner that they have never behaved. You're asking for somebody who's behaving in a manner that was never part of how their settlement with the environmentalists was. You're asking somebody to behave in a manner that isn't what they do in the Inland Empire, okay? If they did what you're asking, the emperor would have no clothes, okay? The TCA's only reason for existence is to build roads that are toll roads.
That's right. They claim to have this clear process and
transparent process.
Yes, and they're asking for other solutions along the way. When we offer other solutions, we're met with scoffs.
In fact,
right?
One of the solutions that was considered and discussed and was done as part of what they call their public process, which was very limited, very controlled. There was an option of the Beltway of connecting the 73 to the 241. Okay, when they put all those options on the table that they said they had, they somehow didn't have that included. And we had to go back and say, look, if you want to include everything, then you got to include this. Why is this not in there? The bottom line is their preference is to run, let's call it like it is. Their preference is to run a toll road right through San Clemente, cutting through established communities, impacting everything from children's health to senior retirees, equity in their homes.
Losing up to 30% value in their homes.
And this is a real estate broker that's telling you that lives in that community.
Yes.
Okay?
We have to include others in the call, so I'm going to let the caller off the line, and thank you for calling.
Thank you very much
we're going
for
to see if we can get some other people on as well here.
Thank you.
All right. So, guys, you still didn't answer the key question. Is traffic congestion, do we need a toll road?
Well, hold on a second. You asked another question about whether we were in the fight or not. And I want to go on record for saying
whether anybody outside of San Clemente.
But your reference is also within your own bubble, Paul, of Mission Viejo or Rancho. Where are you? Mission Viejo?
Really, Rancho Viejo. I'm in Las Flores, which is between Mission Viejo and Rancho Santa Margarita. Nobody even knows it exists, but it's a little unincorporated slot between Rancho and Ladera. And
so who do you vote for, though? Mission Viejo?
No.
Rancho?
No.
Okay. All right.
We're unincorporated.
So you're unincorporated.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. You keep asking about were you involved? Where were you guys when this fight was going on and it wasn't involving you, right? The last 18 years, okay, 17 if you want to basically be very accurate, there's been a fight that we have been involved in with the toll road agency, okay, of not running a toll road through San Mateo watershed. Okay, so to say that San Clemente has not been involved in deterring the toll road from running south is a fallacy, because we have been involved in it specifically through a watershed.
Right.
When that settlement was put to bed, supposedly, I don't know that Coastal would have ever approved that project, by the way, okay? But when whatever, for whatever reason, and the settlement came to agreement, big part of it was there was $800,000 in legal fees that basically were owed to the environmentalists when the settlement happened, okay? $800,000. That's 18 years of fighting this thing. So, yes, San Clemente has been in the fight for 18 years.
But my point, and I'll just say it one last time.
For almost as long as this caller has been in town.
The reason that the airport, which had just as much power, if not more, behind it, didn't get through was when all the cities in South County banded together and forced their representatives to change.
That's exactly what we're hoping to do.
Yeah,
but
you
know what was the big
part
But you're
doing it the last segment. I think it would have been easier at the first segment.
I could turn it around and say the other.
That would have been
ahead,
ideal to stop it initially. And if you look, at the question of need, both the 73 and the 241 have never met their ridership.
No, so my whole point.
And they're basically just roads to a new traffic jam. Taking the 241 to the 91, it's a huge mess. Taking the 73 by the time you get up by Costa Mesa, it's a huge mess. The projections have never been accurate for the TCA. We have bailed them out to the tune of $1.1 billion.
Yeah, what was,
since they
Michelle,
couldn't get
Michelle,
the projections correct.
Right.
Michelle, what was the original estimate for the toll roads to put in all this network? Just let's remind people, what was
It was initially $858 million to complete the toll road network. However, it cost 3.5 more times to build that network, and they haven't even completed it.
And so, what's the current? We're
talking billions
what's
over.
what? And I think then the additional extension is something like 1.8 or 1.6 billion.
Right.
Just
yes,
to complete.
1.733 from the last number that I saw. However, I can tell you that just for the Oso Bridge contract, they have already spent that with just one multinational company. The list of stakeholders, the residents and neighborhoods have been listed last, and we've got a bunch of multinational corporations who are considered higher than us in what matters and what we need for this underused, not needed road. We just got La Plata in.
Yeah,
it's an
exactly.
amazing arterial.
It is.
So let's back up again.
Traffic.
That's a good point.
I'm going to make a projection. Okay, I'm going to make a projection. 2018 is an election year.
It is?
Yeah.
Again? We got to go through this again?
Yeah, 2018 is an election year. And guess what? It's a midterm.
Yeah.
But I have a strong feeling this midterm isn't going to be like any other midterm.
Nobody
we have
turns
had.
out for midterms.
Okay.
Nobody cares.
Also, okay, a new study basically shows that we have about 500, I want to say 500,000 registered Republicans, 500 and change, about the same, maybe a little bit less registered Democrat in the county, and about 370,000 non-party affiliated, and then some of the other ones like Libertarian and so forth, right?
I was told when we had Neil Kelly, Kelly in here, the Orange County, what do you call him, the guy that runs the elections here?
The clerk or...
I forgot.
Whatever, right.
Whatever, he runs the elections in Orange County, that there are more refused to state so-called independents registered as voters than there are
let's even look at this.
Republicans.
Give me a second, okay? So I'm gonna finish this and go back to Michelle. Okay, Orange County's total
Registrar's office.
active voters are at 1,543,931 registered active. Okay, of which Republicans, because there's a part that's not active.
Okay.
Hold on. But Republicans make only 575,344, and Democrats only 521,957. Almost maybe $50,000 difference, 50,000 person difference, and with 389,620 declaring as non-party preference. So here's my projection. Okay, Orange County 2018. Okay, it's going to be issue-based versus party loyalty-based, okay? And issues like this toll road that people are going to...
Right.
It has united people across political lines in Orange County.
The airport fight certainly did. The airport fight years ago did.
And the airport thing, one of the things why it was defeated is because, and we know how well that turned out, right, is because somebody proposed an alternative called the Great Park.
Right.
And they pushed that. And once that got in and caught the imagination of people, basically the airport was doomed.
Right.
Even though it had been approved and all this stuff. But what Michelle was saying about the fact that the people who are benefiting from the TCA, the reason why this agency, which is financially defunct, okay, that keeps taking money and irresponsible fiscally, okay, continues to exist, is because of the large contracts it issues to its friends and cronies.
It's shocking how close many of the contracts in the TCA and both the county match Lisa Bartler's donor list. I just have to tell you, it's uncanny.
And there's going to be a political cost to people that are elected officials that had extremely small margins of winning, okay, to fend off. How many people do we have on a petition already right now, Michelle?
I know that one of them's over 6,000. The other two are over, I think, 2,000 and 3,000. There's several.
Okay. So you got...
So what is it that propose... so you guys are proposing what? The environmentalists stopped this for a number of years, and then when
running through the watershed.
Running through the watershed.
Which put San Clemente...
The surfer, which was what?
As option 2, right in the middle of the bullseye.
Okay, so, and let's articulate who those were. It was the Surfrider Foundation. Weren't they involved in it?
There were 10.
National Resource Defense Council, Sierra Club. I think there was a coalition to save San Onofre.
Audubon
and
Society.
About 7 others.
Audubon. So all these big groups came in and blocked it for years. because it was going to go through this park, which is maybe not a park. It was land set aside as mitigation. I don't know if it's a county park or a state park
It's
or
a
whatever.
state park.
And whatever it was set aside. That was part of it. And then the fight to save the watershed and the creek and the steelhead trout and everything.
And trestles,
the
yeah,
surf
sure.
line. So all of that
Right.
united under one big environmental thing. And then they settled. And when they settled,
After 18 years of fighting.
after 18
Right.
years, and what was the settlement? What did the settlement say?
Michelle?
The settlement basically ended the war and the lawsuits. There were 5 separate lawsuits. Part of the settlement agreement, the TCA was going to manage and give out $28 million, not to any of the groups. They would retain the money, but protect the watershed, the San Mateo watershed, through conservation and management programs for that area, since it is so pristine.
Right.
Since San Clemente butts right up to Camp Pendleton, there's a lot of area that has not been developed, which has allowed that creek shed to be, one of the more pristine in the state.
Right.
So
Not
there's a
many
lot
left
of,
where places
biodiversity
like
in
steelhead
there.
trout can actually come and breed and whatnot. There aren't many left that even flow anymore.
And that settlement basically has taken out of commission all those 10 groups that basically were involved.
I know, but so in return, they said they're not going to build through that pristine watershed parkland and come out at trestles. So then they went back and said, good, then we got to find an alternative, and that's when this new plan through San Clemente,
Well, it's not a new plan.
but
It's not a new plan.
This was already in the paperwork that was proposing routes, with the primary one at the top of the list being through the San Mateo watershed.
Right.
The second one was right through Pico in San Clemente. So anybody who is involved for 18 years in a fight against something and is information gathering had clear knowledge that the first one on the list was San Mateo. The second one, less desirable, understandably why. We know why, because of all this stuff we're talking
fight,
about.
yeah.
Okay? Undesirable would be through Pico, right?
Right through town.
Right through.
And even the TCA back then, and everybody agreed that it was too damaging to
Right.
even be considered.
Right, Michelle.
So, the TCA has come out, and you can see their environmental impact report. It was done in 2004 and 2005. They even went so far as to have renditions of what it'll look like. You can see the 3 freeway off-ramps going over San Clemente High School.
Yeah.
Right.
You can see what they've done to the hill.
Presbyterian
and turned
Church
it into a concrete
going-
jungle.
Yeah.
right.
So they knew, but the TCA is even on record saying, this is so bad, we can't do this.
So
And
when
I
they
think-
when they settled the environmental suit, were you all expecting that the toll road would then not be built anywhere, or that they would come up with a new route that wasn't on the list?
Well, to be honest, I attended one of the second public forum that was in St. Andrew's Church last year in October, and I was so disgusted to see that they were back again. They spent millions of dollars on this horse and pony show, and they had it completely
Consultants
stocked full
making money.
of their
Sure.
consultants. And that was the first that I had heard about it coming back. And I actually heard about it that day and went down that evening. It's not something that, we knew was coming up.
Right.
So that was the first that I'd heard about it. Unfortunately, the TCA is very far along in this process. We've
Yeah.
got surveyors and engineers in our hills.
They're ready to go.
Yet they
Pretty
claim
much
that
daily.
14 has not been
Well, yet
designated.
Yet they claim as of yesterday, with Ed Sachs out of his own mouth, okay, saying that
They're still open to
they're
new
still open.
ideas.
Okay, here's how disingenuous and, let's call it like it is, a lie that is, okay? It is because from the time when they were fighting to get one through San Mateo watershed,
Right.
the information and the studies and the renderings of what it would look like on Pico were already done by the TCA.
They had a backup.
Okay, so don't tell me there was no decision of how to prioritize your routes from back then, okay? Just because what? I mean, why would you? And to then double spend money studying things today when we still have a widening of the 5 that is not over,
Right.
that's
So
irresponsible,
they had
fiscally
they had a backup
irresponsible.
plan, which they didn't want. It wasn't as preferable because it would lead to the fight that you're in right now. Their first was to go through pristine land where nobody lived, and the environmental group stopped that. So now we're back to Plan B, which is through your area, and you guys are fighting that. What would you like to see happen? It go to Plan C or to stop altogether?
So we want the TCA abolished. I think with the amount
Okay.
of money that, if you read the Pacific Research Institute report that was done in 2013, it shows that the TCA does not even have a sustainable business model. They've been able to refinance their junk bonds. However,
To
their
survive.
projections, not only on population growth, but for their ridership and roads, it only takes a small economic downturn until the taxpayers are holding a really large, heavy bag of debt again. And I just don't think that you should even entertain an agency that has an unsustainable business model and spends like they do spend.
So can you explain, because I don't think most people understand the structure. This was designed to be a public-private partnership, some sort of quasi-other entity created, because the state doesn't have the funds to go build new freeways, is the argument. And so they come up with these.
Let me give you a little history, because I think that would really help.
I think, because I don't think people understand the nature of this beast you're fighting here.
We met with Rancho Mission Viejo. We've met with them several times. They've been amazing. They own all the land down here in Southern California. That's
going back to the Spanish land grant of the whatever. This is the last of the ranch that has yet to be built out. Right.
Yes, and just as a side note, the same environmental groups who fought the TCA also had a suit with Rancho Mission Viejo, and they actually got 3.5 master plan communities off the table. So it's going to be less than it would have been had those environmental groups not stood up at that time. But back 30 years ago, when the TCA was formed through the Joint Powers Authority, it's an Orange County Joint Power Authority that was formed 30 years ago.
Joint power with who? Joint powers with the different cities, so the cities share.
No, it's just Orange County. It's an Orange County JPA.
Okay.
So they have the ability to tax us through the collection of development fees. They collect a development fee for every new construction in Orange County alone.
Some of that goes towards the development of the support of this agency, and therefore the development of these roads, right?
Exactly. So 30 years ago, San Clemente wasn't even on the map. San Juan Capistrano, we weren't even on the map. People would just drive through. No one knew where you were.
Right.
And we didn't have the population. We didn't have the building. It was a bunch of orange growth and, open space. So we were not getting the attention that we needed for.
And further up the line, the cities like Rancho Santa Margarita didn't even exist, or Ladera, or all these other communities that were built out. So this was still pristine land as they envisioned it. Right.
So in order to address those transportation needs that were being ignored by Sacramento, they decided to do this Joint Powers Authority and form the TCA.
Right.
Now, things have changed so dramatically. We're not ignored by Sacramento anymore, and this agency has just run amok. It has no oversight. It's not accountable. There's no checks and balances. And it's just, we're being used as a piggy bank.
But don't all the cities have representatives? Doesn't it have like 18 or 20 or 30? It has a lot of board members, and all these people, aren't they supposed to, each city in the county supposed to have?
Ironically, some of whom, that I don't want to repeat his name, okay?
His name.
Okay. Some of whom were against the TCA for its fiscal irresponsibility until somehow, somewhere, either they got rewarded or somehow they made friends.
They got religion.
And they got religion and drank the Kool-Aid or whatever it was, and now they're basically in favor. And it's not just one person. There's a number of them. You start digging about this information, the level of hypocrisy and disingenuousness from some of these elected officials is absolutely unbelievable.
Right.
It's been my experience that the majority of city officials, the majority of whom, I'm sorry to say, are Republican, I'm not a Republican, seem to be, this is a pro-growth coalition that's been created with groups like the South County
Business Economic Coalition.
Yes, Economic Coalition, others, and they've all come together. And we've had lots and lots of politicians through this station here, majority of whom are Republicans, majority of whom are in support of, either have been on the board and in support of this whole thing.
But that's too convenient a way of painting it, to be honest, right? Because we just talked about how everybody across the political gamut, okay, basically is lockstep with one another in San Clemente, okay, over an issue-based thing. I will repeat again, anybody who still believes that this election 2018 is going to be based on party loyalty, you got another thing coming, and you better start watching the issues and coming out on the right side of things, because your political life and survival basically hangs in the balance.
And that's what happened with the airport fight.
And I'd also like to make sure to highlight that we are adamantly opposed to any toll road in San Clemente.
Absolutely.
You know, to protect the San Mateo watershed in addition to all of our town.
Right, but we didn't even stop there, okay? For
Right.
those of us who are trying to pit us as one city against the other, San Clemente, being a strong advocate for this position, also said there is no justifiable reason that you can explain to me a toll road is going to mitigate congestion
Right.
or improve mobility through South County without having such an adverse effect on established neighborhoods and quality of life of people across the board, from health of children to seniors. Okay, that you are going to basically justify this for me. And for those who say, and it has been said by some irresponsible elected officials, okay, in other communities, that San Clemente is a bunch of crybabies and you're anti-business and you're anti-all this stuff.
NIMBY, not in my
okay?
backyard.
Let me tell you
no.
something. You got 3 people on the radio right now that are all business owners. Okay, so this is not anti-business. This is anti-being irresponsible
Right.
and playing fast and loose with somebody else's quality of life.
And money.
So you're,
And money.
if I understand this correctly, so your argument isn't just find another route; it's give up, quit talking about building it, maybe disband the whole agency altogether.
What is it? What is it? The too big to fail situation again? Because that's what basically they're asking us to do: sustain an organization that has failed at its primary mission, has not met the goals and objectives that it set for itself,
Right.
has been so overly expended, okay, that it is ridiculous, okay.
And who other than themselves can police that?
Then nobody polices it.
No one.
Okay, they made an agreement with environmentalists to set aside mitigation money that they would then administer themselves. It's like having
Right.
the fox in the hen
Right.
house
Right.
telling the farmer, I'm going to save your hen house, but I'm going to attack your neighbors, and you can't say anything about it.
And when business is bad, just go back and refinance it.
Who carries that? Who carries that debt when that organization basically runs out of building roads? Because here's the two realities. Either they're going to continue to run roads and the precedence that sets in South County becomes what happens in North County next, and what they come after your community and what happens in Oceanside and goes all the
Right.
way to San Diego and to
Right.
Tijuana.
Right.
Okay? What happens when this agency no longer can sustain that because there's nowhere more to build to pave over paradise? Okay? Who carries the
But isn't
debt
there
now?
a sunset
We do.
clause? The whole idea was that they would build it, raise the tax through development taxes and funds. They would
And then
raise
it would be over.
and then once they build it, they would run it for so many years, collect the taxes, which would pay back the bondholders and everybody else, and then it would become what? A public road that they would give to the state to administer, right?
That
Yes,
was the
Caltrans.
original goal.
And
Are
that
they,
date of
are they sticking to that?
that date of turnover has
No.
been pushed back how far? Because the tolls weren't enough to sustain the costs and pay back they had to refinance the bonds, and
They've
they had,
refinanced several times,
Right.
and they've increased their they increased their toll rates. We have the most expensive toll road system in the nation.
yeah.
It is the most expensive to drive on. It's just, they have not fulfilled on what they said, and there's no way that with their current plans that those roads will ever be free.
It's a very,
This debt is unsustainable.
it's
It
very-
They'll
is
just
not-
keep refinancing
Right.
and pushing the date off further and,
and they
further
have, I
and
think,
further.
it's something
to
like
turn over.
2050 or 2045 or something like that now. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
for an agency that was established 30 years ago that was supposed to have already returned stuff. Let me just make it very simple. If you had an entity that was producing a product, okay, that couldn't sell enough of. If you were a company producing a product you couldn't sell enough of, okay, at some point you don't keep building factories that
Make more of 'em.
produce that same friggin' product.
If you're
Okay?
losing money, you don't keep making more.
And for the South County Business Coalition or any business person that's out there, if this is an
County
acceptable
Economic
form,
Coalition,
if this is an acceptable, okay, business
Formula?
model formula you guys are advocating, you shouldn't be consulting a damn person about how to run a business.
Right.
So I'm just trying to get so people understand. So this Joint Powers Authority was set up, which had taxing ability. It has representatives from every city on it. And don't they see this? Don't all these representatives from all these cities see the unsustainability, if that's what you call it, of this plan? Aren't they concerned about the constant refinancing and the pushing the date further and further off and the thing? Why, like you're saying, then why build more of
Oh, they
this?
see it.
If we're losing money on the ones we
They
got,
ignore it.
why
They
build
don't
more
care.
of it?
They don't care. It's not in my
They have a
backyard.
revolving door of board members. Those board members are just in and out. Michael Kramen goes through an executive assistant every 3 months. We've been combing through documents and going back. We see all of their messages to the board members. They're just as dishonest with the state of affairs with the board members as they are in their meetings and the public. They're very good at concealing what they're up to, and the board members change so often. I've spoken to several board members that they just got 5 new ones, actually 6 now, in the last, year, and they really are not familiar with the history of the TCA. They kind of get in there.
And how many board? Isn't
I
it
wonder
like
what the old board members would say if we got them on record.
Oh, we've had a bunch of them in here. They'd love to. They can't believe this hasn't been completed and done, and this is a model for public-private partnerships to build infrastructure in this country. And they make a very strong, powerful argument that it was a great idea, and so we didn't guess correctly how much it would cost and how long it would take to pay back.
By the way, it's not just the TCA in Orange County. Okay, there was a toll road project in Texas that was shut down last week. Okay, so this is a failed business model that does not work, and every day that you sustain and justify its existence
because it's there,
and somehow somebody or you are getting a lucrative account, you have no moral.
What would happen to the roads and the current roads and the current? Let's assume you were able to stop this road, and that's a big if because there's an awful lot of power behind it. Let's say you stop the road; it doesn't go through anywhere. It's South Pasadena. It's a road that never gets built. What happens to the existing toll roads? Would they revert back to Caltrans in the state?
Oh, no. I'm sure they'll just extend them because they haven't been able to pay their bonds again.
But if you dissolve the TCA...
it would be great to give the revenues to another agency. However, Caltrans does not have clean hands in this. They even had a cooperation agreement with the TCA to not fix up the 5 freeway for many years.
Yeah, I've heard that was
of getting riders
non-compete
on the 73 and the underused 241.
And that is not I'm just going to interject. I've heard that before, and I may be wrong in this, but I've heard that on this station before, and that wasn't a secret agreement. That was part of the agreement that the TCA wouldn't start building it unless Caltrans agreed not to widen the road and improve it, or the 91 as well, because they wanted to force traffic into this new toll. Otherwise, people wouldn't take the toll road.
So listen to this, okay? That's at $7 to $20 a toll, right?
Right.
The complicity in an agency that's supposed to look out for the public interest to actually go into a non-compete providing monopoly situation to another agency that is answerable to nobody, that has eminent domain power, so that it can make money, which it's not making enough of, and therefore needs to produce more defunct business model toll roads.
It needs to add more toll roads so we can lose even more money.
So who do we go to? How do we stop this?
There you go.
We have so much information. We have so much dirt on them. They have conducted themselves in such an inappropriate manner in so many different ways. And now to potentially devastate our beloved town, it's not okay with me.
Can I point out an even bigger problem?
Sure.
You had a caller that called in earlier, very incensed. And I asked the question I always ask: where were you when this toll road was being fought further up the road? She said, "No, not you."
Okay.
And she said, I didn't even know about it.
Well, give me a timeline, Paul, because you also throw that out with an open-ended. What years are you talking about? Because I just told you, for the last 18 years, we've been fighting them down on the watershed.
Trestles.
Well, yeah,
Save trestles.
but nobody rallied to Laguna Beach.
Are you talking before 18 years?
No, somewhere along the way, I forgot when, but when before the road was physically built through Laguna Canyon, there was a huge Save Laguna Canyon fight.
I would say that most of us had no idea about it. We had
Exactly.
no idea that it was even potentially going to push through. I mean, even last year when the settlement agreement was finalized, I remember seeing the front page of the SC Times, and I thought, thank God it's over, because my blood pressure has been elevated for the past 11 years, thinking that this monstrosity is going to come through our town or around our town. And so when that settlement agreement happened, I was not alone. We were so happy. We were thrilled.
You know what? When
we
you
thought it was over. We thought it was over, and it's not.
You know when you put people in a situation where you traumatize them, okay, for a long, extended period of time, one of two things happen. They either break, okay, or they get so pissed off.
We are madder than ever.
Okay, that it does not stay in the little box that you think you want to keep it in. And this is exactly what has happened here. For the last 18 years, San Clementians, while others may have been fighting their own version of this somewhere else in the county, Laguna Canyon, in the area where you are, okay, we have been fighting against the toll road running through a pristine watershed, okay, in our own backyard. And those same people battle hardened from that and other fights. The double tracking, same principles, okay, with the railroad, right? And that died. So anybody who thinks that this time around, these people that live by choice in San Clemente, that have far-reaching influence all over the county and beyond, are going to limit this fight to the local political officials that are elected, or simply in South County, San Clemente, staying within our borders,
Right.
they've got another thing coming.
This is bigger than ever, and if I might point out that we know that the TCA did not want this to become a PR nightmare like Save Trestles did
Save Trestles
years
became-
before.
right.
But man, I'll tell you what, this is, in my opinion, this is much, much bigger. We have much more community involvement. It's not only about the park, which is, you know, very, very important to so many of us, but now it also includes residents of many, many years, children, seniors, our schools,
So
the
how are you
environment.
reaching out to the other communities? Because it seems like other communities, like Mission Viejo, like San Juan Capistrano, are kind of saying, as long as it's not affecting us, we don't care.
Well, no. In fact, it is affecting them.
I know, but their perception
Because
is
out of those fake 18 options, there are ones that affect them. So they've come out and said no to the toll road for these routes.
Right.
So
Through their town.
yeah, but the
you know?
principle is the same.
but they're
If-
willing
if-
to accept the
no, they
route through your
they
town.
haven't said they're okay with it. They said we're against X. So the principle still abides that if a community says no to the toll road in their community, they are basically allowing the right of another community to see exactly the same. We have just gone further and said no in South
no
County.
toll
But
road,
my
right.
suggestion, and you asked where does it go, is if you could get all the communities to rise up and say no, this would stop.
Well, they
but as
are-
long as one fights the other and says, well, you can put it there, but you can't put it through my community, but you can put it through his town, and then that they say, you're not putting it through my town, put it through
Well,
their
we're
town.
not
put it
we're
there."
not advocating that.
We're
at
not
all.
advocating that at all. We're saying no watershed, no San Clemente, no South County.
No
stop
toll
the,
road.
Stop the toll road.
Right.
And
If we
also
wanted to
go ahead.
live in downtown LA, we could all move there. That's not why people live in South Orange County.
By
Clearly.
choice, by the way.
Well, and Paul,
and pay top dollar for doing so. So this is the difference in this fight. You are not picking on people that don't have teeth, like crocodiles that you say cry
Yeah.
crocodile tears, and claws, and they are seasoned, battle hardened, boots on the ground kind of people.
Well, I'm just saying if you could get all the cities to jointly say, stop the toll road, not just stop it in my town, we'd have the same success that you did fighting the
We
airport.
just said dissolve the TCA.
Well, and that's our goal. We would love, you know, our neighbors, our communities around us to join us in this fight. No toll road, not just, you know, a
And so where does that
defined
sit today?
number.
Are you surprised Mission Viejo voted 4-1 to say, let the process continue?
Not really surprised.
It was really funny they did that. They're copying us because we have many HOAs that have been getting resolutions opposing the routes, as well as Capital Unified School District. And our city council's united and even has filed a lawsuit. So
Yeah.
they're just stoking the fire, and it's going to backfire on them.
And what happened in San Juan?
And it was such
did-
a weak resolution that was totally unnecessary. What they actually voted on to make a safe face with the TCA, look, we supported you, okay, because somebody basically happens to write double saddle between the TCA and the Mission Viejo City Council, is they had a resolution that said, well, we will support the TCA's process to look for solutions of mobility. Basically, a total waste of staff time to draft a resolution that has no friggin' teeth, simply to say, look, we're on record for supporting you. I can show my face when I go to that board meeting again.
Right.
And what happened in San Juan Capistrano? Didn't they similarly, or maybe I'm wrong in this, didn't they similarly kind of say, as long as it doesn't come through our town, you can keep exploring the toll road? They didn't come out against the toll road, just against the toll road option in their town. Is that
Well,
correct?
they came out against some of the proposed routes because
Right.
all of the proposed routes are insane. So I think that each city is standing up for what they can do for their residents.
But they're not fighting. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And why aren't these cities saying no to the toll road itself instead of no? They're saying no to this route.
Because how dare you question the authority of the emperor that has no clothes?
And also many people are, you know, they're almost they're frozen. You know what to do. most of our residents don't really know how to mobilize themselves and to
Right.
kind of and to fight such a powerful entity.
Well, it's seemingly overwhelming, right?
Right.
A lot of people are focused on their daily lives, which I think a lot of people trying to get away with shady stuff count on.
Clearly.
Okay, and again,
If we drag it out long enough, you'll all go away.
but yet again, I will tell you, they picked the wrong town to have those assumptions on.
Yeah, it seems like it, because San Clemente has done what few towns have done in this fight. They have stood up and filed a lawsuit and rallied more
year
than
over year over year.
Here's the added
We're
bonus.
just getting started. We have some really special things that we're going to
I used to have
coming
a
out with soon.
I
So
have-
what before you say, because we're got to wrap up in a couple minutes here. We're already a little bit over. What is it? What's the future look like? What's you've got a lawsuit that the city funded against this?
Yes.
And
a
you're
lawsuit that an HOA, the reserve, basically also filed.
and the petitions that you're doing get filed with who? Just to go on record, or is there a petition that you're trying to turn into the TCA or to the county or to the state or to somebody? Who are you going to turn these petitions into, and what are you asking? What are those?
We're asking for the TCA to be abolished. So I imagine we'll be going to Sacramento soon. I anticipate many more lawsuits on the horizon.
And is Sacramento, does the state government oversee this? Is it up to them to whether this stays in power or not?
You know, it's not. It's an Orange County decision, and unfortunately, our Orange County Board of Supervisors have really facilitated pulling a lot of stops out to get the Oso Bridge, our county land, turned over to the TCA to build it, which will then go to Caltrans to be taken over. But this allows the extension to even happen.
And also, Michelle, getting around environmental impact reports as well, right?
Yes, they
negative
instead of
decks.
So have any of the how many county supervisors are there? I forgot. Are there 5 or
There's
7?
5.
5. So of the 5, are any of them opposed to a toll road?
We know that Lisa Bartlett has been instrumental in pushing this, and she even ran on completing the 241. She didn't share that with San Clemente residents when we voted for. But Todd Spitzer, we can't exactly tell where he is. He stood up for us a few times with the civil rights violations the TCA did at the last public forum.
Where they didn't let
Sean
people
Nelson,
talk
we
or
don't
something.
know where he is.
Oh, it was way worse than that.
It's hard to say. It's still too early to know where the chips are going to fall.
Well, Sean's a pretty conservative guy.
But fall they will, okay? Because again, I will repeat, the margins of elected officials winning campaigns, okay? I hate to make it just an issue of numbers, but the margins are so small.
That if you get a unified group
And this
in San
county
Clemente,
is changing and has been changing for so long, for the last decade, that if you have a 5,000 vote deficit, I don't care whether you are running for supervisor re-election or you're running for district attorney or what have you, or locally, you are not going to carry a deficit of 5,000 votes. Even if you win with 5,000 votes against you, you know what that does to the South County citizenship as a power base in Orange County? Regardless of what happens in 2018, the landscape is going to change, and people who are smart are going to see the writing on the wall, and those who are not are going to get rolled
well, the
over.
surprising thing that from my perspective, is you got people higher up the political chain, like our United States Representatives Darrell Issa, who I would think would be all in support of this and has been in the past, and Senator Pat Bates
came out against
among
it.
others.
Yeah.
Right.
Bill Bro.
All of these are conservative Republicans who would normally be with the conservative economic business coalitions and stuff, the South Orange
Because
County.
this is wrong.
Well,
it's
and
just wrong.
they also read the tea leaves.
Yeah.
This is not the same. This is not some backwater surfer community that has basically just been laid back, spending time on the beach, and all of a sudden they got wind of something.
Okay. So, do they pull any clout other than the fact that, I mean, they don't have any say in this because, again, it's a local agency.
Making statements is fine, but there's
so they do have a little say, because
they
for
do.
this road to continue, it'll be $1.7 billion of taxpayer money used. So if we can get the funding withheld for the TCA's project to complete this last few miles, then that's where they come into play.
Somebody was trying to call and they went to the fax line. Sorry. Call back again, caller, if you're still doing it. So we didn't pick it up fast enough. All right, so they have some impact in this. Is there any who buys the land and acquires it? Necessary? They don't own the land yet to build this, right? Or do they?
No, they're actively looking not only for mitigation land to purchase, but there's a group that's been formed called the Corridor Management Design Committee. Something DC, or I can't say exact name, but it's the Corridor Management Group, that the TCA. Those are also listed as stakeholders above residents and neighborhoods. But they have been given $1.3 billion to go and acquire land in various different names, so it's difficult to track what they've already purchased. But we know that they're actively
trying to buy up some of this land.
The TCA is a Ponzi scheme.
Don't hold back. Tell us exactly what you feel.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
So we don't know how much of it they acquire because they buy it under different names or entities. You're saying, so that it doesn't look like suddenly there's a big one group trying to walk up and down the neighborhood and say, "I'll buy your house, your house, your house, and all these other houses."
Yes, and open space, I imagine, is pretty valuable to them at this point too, since they'd have to offset the damage they do by taking a lot of our open spaces.
Yeah, they got to rebuild it somewhere else here.
So I know there's a caller that's trying to call
Yes.
in, so just keep an eye on the phone. But I wanted to just share something. We had a question about how far back it has been pushed, right?
Yeah.
2053.
To when it's supposedly going to be turned over.
Yeah, which I hold as much faith in as, Wimpy saying, "I'll pay you Tuesday." Right? I mean, it's based on what? Am I supposed to believe you because you basically kicked the can down the road three times before, but all of a sudden you're an honest broker?
Here's the caller that's tried 3 or 4 times. Welcome, caller. Sorry we had trouble getting on here. Identify yourself and what's your comment?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Corder, San Clemente resident, listening to the show, but I turned it down so it wouldn't interfere with this. So
Hi,
I'm
Elizabeth.
not sure where you guys are on topic right now. Hello. I had a couple comments to make when you're discussing the fiscal irresponsibility of the TCA. Just at the last TCA board meeting, they are discussing remarketing some bonds that must be remarketed by January 2018, but they do have the option to do it before then.
What does that mean, remarketing? They're gonna try and sell new bonds to pay for this new funds?
Wasn't there a junk bond crisis in this country?
Yeah, they're going to take a portion of and resell them, and it's a small portion, small with their numbers. I think they said 125 million. But the point I wanted to make, just for the way they conduct business, is that even Todd Spitzer brought up in the discussion that if we're remarketing bonds, we need to disclose that we're in current litigation. But their financial advisor went through all his explanations and reasons of why they could circumvent that and why they didn't need to disclose that. The problem, and Spitzer had a very good point, is that leaves them with a liability and a risk for non-disclosure of that to the bondholders.
That would be pretty obvious, yeah.
These bonds.
Buy this bond to help us build this road, and we forgot to tell you that we may be in a litigation that would stop that we're being sued,
Yeah, and any official release, there's a section for that. It's not like you just add it in. There's a section in there that addresses that. So
that asks the question.
Yes. Do you have any current litigation that's ongoing?
Deceitful, intentionally.
And so they are not disclosing that. And again, like I said, Spitzer went on record saying and questioned the financial advisor, "I'm not sure this is the greatest idea. It leaves us at risk, leaves us at liability." But that is just the way they conduct their business. They need to keep those credit ratings up to get these bondholders to keep footing the bill for these bonds. And that's the same way that they're in violation of some of their collection practices. We've looked at the possibility, are they really adhering to fair debt collection practices, because they have these replenishment amounts that goes on your credit card each month if you choose that option, and once it gets below that threshold, they replenish. The problem is many people have been complaining lately that their replenishment amount that always say was $25, they get their credit card and now it's $125.
Oh, mine used to be $75 every time.
Yeah, and when they called in to clarify and ask why, they were told we need to keep our revenue flow showing that it's at a stable quarterly amount. We can't have it fluctuating up and down quarterly because we need to keep our credit rating up. They're actually telling people that. And then they're saying, well, if you object to that, we can go ahead and lower that amount back down. But by law, you shouldn't have to do that. They should be giving you notice before they just decide to up any replenishment amount because of fair debt collection.
I have to go look at my credit card because I've been getting replenished for years. I don't even know what they replenish.
And look and see how much they're charging you for your transponders, because even if you don't use the toll road, they will still charge you for those transponders.
Yeah, that was
fees.
Yeah, it used to be free, and then it's now there's
fees.
a
Right.
yeah. So
the other discussion part of the other discussion about San Juan, and yeah, we want all of these local communities to join together and stand united and say, this is not a good idea.
Be more
for
powerful.
anyone's
Be more
community.
powerful.
And the resolution that San Juan put out, that's great. We totally understand that they have to put out what they need to do to protect their city. But yes, they did leave off Route 14.
Yeah.
We'd be stronger together if we all just said no to all of these routes.
That's my point.
But something I'd like to point out to the San Juan residents, if I'm a family and I'm a homeowner and I have kids going to San Juan Hills High School, Route 14 is going directly by that high school.
Correct.
I wouldn't want my kids to have those adverse health effects either. So it's something that the residents of San Juan need to maybe get more informed and involved in, to realize that this Route 14 that everyone maybe is associating more with San Clemente is going right by San Juan Hills High School and their own students.
And
Well,
Tesoro High School.
and Tesoro.
Yeah,
And
that's
the
a-
new school in Esencia that's being built in Rancho Mission Viejo.
Well,
That's where my daughter, just so I'll pipe in, my daughter, I was in this fight earlier than you guys were. That's why I feel like we sort of lost it up to a point. We were able to stop
it's a
it.
different fight.
And we
not
thought
one
it was just going to stop the completion, not the original, do we even need these two toll roads, and are they really going to do what they say they're going to do? I'm not sure we did need them. I'm not sure they did. They certainly didn't do what they were promised to do. They didn't get the kind of ridership that people
par for
thought.
the course.
But I live right near near Tesoro High School, basically, and my daughter went to Tesoro a number of years ago and graduated. And it presently stops right across the street. On one side is Oso, the toll road stops, and when you walk across Oso, there's Tesoro High School. And if it continues, it would literally, Tesoro, or at least its football fields and everything else, would be literally under the road. So there'd be a giant freeway running over this high school.
We'll get used to that idea because that's what they got planned
It's
for you.
already being graded.
Yeah. And
it
the
brings
whole
up, I'm very much vested in the Rancho Mission Viejo community. My daughter and her family, they're starting their family there. They just purchased their first home in the Rancho Mission Viejo community. So Los Patrones Parkway is a really big issue for that community. And those residents need to understand that if that road becomes, for those who don't know, Los Patrones was permitted and always supposed to be a free arterial road. Those communities pay not only huge taxes, but huge mellows, and that road is supposed to be a free arterial road for them. And if the toll road is allowed to take over Los Patrones Parkway, which is, of course, what their agenda is now, and that becomes a toll, by their own estimates in the old reports, there's going to be 22,000 vehicles dumped on those surface streets right there,
And
clogging up all of those surface
And was that
Right.
disclosed by the realtors when these people bought their homes?
That's my whole point.
There's your lack of
somebody knew these are
disclosure.
master plan areas. Somebody
Which is the biggest no-no.
Somebody
for
knew a
real estate
long
real estate
time
brokers.
ago that when, let's see, we're going to build out this area of the ranch, and let's see, we're going to need we think we need some freeways to make access in and out and to bring people in and out, and so we can build arterial roads and communities and shopping centers and all this stuff. And where are we going to put the schools? Well, we don't want to put it in valuable land that could be turned into a house. Let's stick it under the freeway. And the same stuff they did with the airport. When you look at where the roads came together, it was no accident that they all ended up near the old El Toro Air Base. Because first they sell the homes, and then they jam this on top of you. Because if they built it first, nobody'd move there.
Right, but again, you're not supposed to build schools. It's illegal to build schools within certain proximity of existing roadways. So to come around and have a school and then build a roadway on top of an existing school
That's
is
the terrible
even,
loophole.
Exactly, because they knew that if they did it the other way, nobody would buy it. Either legally or morally, no one would say, I don't want to.
So let me ask you something. If there was no disclosure, and I'll ask you a real estate question. If there was no disclosure that the road was going to go through, when obviously there was documentation that goes back at
That they
least
were
20 years
planning
that
it,
there was going to be a
right.
road go through, can those homeowners have a class action suit against those brokers for lack of disclosure
Interesting.
later? Because that's what's going to happen.
I think it's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
Because with the airport, there was a disclosure. There was an airport there, but they would always tell you. When I bought my home in the area, they said, "Oh, it's just it's an underused air base, and it's going to get shut down. Nothing's ever going to happen with it." The wink and the nod was that there was never going to be an airport. Then we all bought it, and then they suddenly said, "Oh, big surprise! We're going to build a 24-hour airport that flies over your house all day long and dumps jet fuel on you and kills the community with noise." And it wasn't until people grasped that, took 2 or 3 versions to get. And I admit, when I lived in Anaheim Hills, I voted for it. I said, I don't care, screw it, build an airport down there. It's not going to affect me. And it wasn't until I moved in the air and I realized what it's going to do and how it would affect
But
me.
you see what that's called? That's called karma on your part.
Yeah.
Because when you were in Anaheim Hills, you didn't care enough, and guess where you ended up? Right where you didn't
And I
care
see it
enough.
happening right now. Nobody cared when they built it through Laguna Canyon and everybody was asleep. And now they're in San Clemente and the rest of the towns are saying, I don't care if it goes through San Clemente as long as it doesn't go through mine. That's the blunt reality I see. And until that happens, until everybody unites like they finally did in the airport, I don't know that
But
your
Paul,
one town is able to stop it.
If I might add, I feel like we as residents have been kept in the dark intentionally to not know and dig for all of these details. And man, now that we are we're on it, we're
awake
on
and
it,
aware.
and we are awake. And so, you know what? Maybe shame on us for not knowing more back then, or maybe not trusting them.
Yeah, but I think to a certain extent that's human nature. Everything, you know, we talk about it on this show. All news is local news, right? So the only thing that's changed is the definition of local just got to be a bigger circle, right? Bigger sphere. And what's happening down there is usually that you basically face a situation like this, and people are too busy. People don't have time. They're too busy with their lives. They're raising families. They don't have the financial resources.
That's what they count on.
All of this stuff. But guess what? Those are not the realities of this one.
Any last comments, caller? We got to hang up, see if we can get somebody else up.
Actually, I have one more comment. It'd be great if whatever public is listening to this. Ed Sachs, you called him out. I'm going to, too. He'd like to push this process. Last night at the Mission Viejo City Council meeting, the fact of the matter is there never really has been a legitimate, genuine process. And to mention, as he did, about the public forums that had been had so far in this ascertainment study, how many people do we have in these local South Orange County cities we're talking about? And the best they could come up with was 45 people.
45 people
for their
study.
ascertainment. Handpicked people, 45 people.
Many of whom did not even live in town.
Absolutely insignificant.
Yeah,
So explain that to
64,000
me.
in population
So
in
when they had
Iowa.
I don't know what you're talking about. So when they had a public forum, 45 people showed up. Is that what you're saying?
No, they're saying that as they refer to their public forums they've had, and they said, oh, we did this ascertainment study and took input from people, they make it sound like it's this massive public input.
Right.
When for all of these South County cities, the only people they included in this survey was 45 people.
And how did they
45
find those
people.
45? Did 45 people come to them, or did they reach out and say, we need
They're
45
extremely
people?
vague, but it seems to be these were handpicked 45 people. But they're very vague on, they won't identify who these people are. And they say they got them from referrals from other people. But
So-
it seemed to be that they're handpicked people.
So they did
They
a random
issue-
sampling that may not be so random.
Yeah, they issue a contract for public relations for $1.8 million, right?
To get feedback.
Right, and spend that money. No. And then they basically spend money on a survey that only tests and questions and asks for input from 45 people. Okay.
I see.
And only
But
with
let's
they did
be honest,
explain
the
as they.
EPA
Go
said
ahead.
the 35 people came up with these routes, which is just a complete lie. And
Complete
if you're
lie.
going
It's been
to
on
have
the paper.
Legitimate traffic planning in South Orange County, which we agree, arterials and is needed. You'd get people who have the analytical skills and are familiar, some engineers with traffic planning. You wouldn't randomly get 45 people off the street.
You wouldn't take my aunt who's 93 and ask her to pick a route?
No. See, but they didn't come up. The people that they asked, whoever it is, didn't come up with these options. What happened is this: I have 18 pieces of paper with 18 options on it, and I basically say to you, any of these options do you like? What did I say? The way you pose the question predetermines the way the answer is, right? If you don't have a blank piece of paper on that wall that says draw in your own, even then you are pushing for that, because guess what? There's always the option to say no.
Yeah.
Right. But that wasn't
But they
an
took
option.
that out of the room.
There were certain questions that they wouldn't even include in the final calculations of their survey data, because if the question wasn't answered in the way they wanted it answered, basically, they came up with a reason to exclude that question from being included in the data. Because they said we can assume that this person just wants no toll road anywhere.
They just sent out an email survey with the same exact biased approach to building it.
Right.
So they hired somebody to do a survey. They surveyed 45 people. We don't know who they are. And out of these 45 people, they can now say, we've surveyed the community.
And they're calling that a part of their transparent process.
So here's the.
Oh, they refer to it as this very general, seemingly all-inclusive ascertainment study. They just don't bother to tell you it's only 45 people.
Well, it sounds
Which
better
is
than
statistically
ascertainment study. I like
insignificant
that.
for a county of our size.
And then
That's just not an accurate number.
Right.
Nor did they have the skill set one would want while planning traffic solutions.
Exactly. I can give you my opinion on what I think you should do with traffic on the corner of my house. Doesn't mean it's valid in any way. I'm not a traffic engineer.
Right.
Well, and then as an example of what is really and truly probably the actual first public process was the third public forum, and that's where we had thousands of people show up.
Yeah.
You know, several thousand outside, hundreds of people that
couldn't get in.
Were able to get inside.
Oh, you mean where there was some violations of?
Oh yeah, all kinds of civil rights
Wouldn't let
violations
people
that
talk
happened
or something.
there. Yes.
All right, so you're all in agreement. You want to just stop the damn thing and bury it? Is that it? It just should stop at Oso Parkway?
100%.
That would
no
be
toll road anywhere.
ideal.
PTA needs to
Have
just
they
be
gotten
abolished.
approval? Because they were trying to build it down to Cow Camp, which is halfway between Oso Parkway and Ortega Highway.
You know how they get approval? It's like
I mean, I don't know.
It's like stealing base in baseball. Okay. Oh, look, we're at Los Patrones Bridge. Oh, look. Oh,
so where are they at right
they're
now?
They're not looking. Let's go to
that's
Cow
also
Camp.
how they get around
was
the
that
reports.
was never settled. It just went away. The piecemealing effect of this.
Yeah. So where is the piecemeal today? One of you mentioned that they are going to go past Tesoro High School, or is that still where it stops?
No.
Well, in 2014, the Los Patrones was changed. The design was changed from a free arterial and started being construction for toll road specs. So currently that road is being built with toll road specifications instead of the free arterial that it was planned for.
Yep.
The Orange County supervisors waived that they didn't need to update the environmental document saying that the sensitive receptor being Tesoro High School didn't really affect what they were doing.
So
and
is it?
That's a huge no-no, by the way.
But I'm still confused. Is it still stopped at Oso across the street from Tesoro High School, or are they starting to build that part of it already? Have they gotten approval to?
They're building a bridge on Oso Parkway so the 241 can come under the bridge to go to Los Patrones.
And Los Patrones is where? I don't know where that is. That's beyond
On the
Tesoro.
other side of the 241. On the other side of Oso, right next to Tesoro High School.
And there's going to build a street there? Is that what they're saying? Or what's Los
the street
Patrones?
is already going in, but it was supposed to be a free arterial. So think of where the 241 stops at Oso.
Yeah.
It just stops because Oso Parkway runs right in front of it.
Yeah.
So they're building a bridge right where the 241 stops so the 241 can go under the bridge.
I see. I haven't gone up to look at it lately.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And then once it passes, there's a road somewhere past Tesoro now that they're building homes or something? Is that what this Los Patrones?
Yes, and that's called Los Patrones. So nobody's even been on it yet.
I never even heard of it. I live right in the area.
It's not live. It's supposed to be, the first segment will be done probably, by year end or early spring. And then the second segment will go to Cow Camp Road. So it's completion is really close on the horizon.
So that part is proceeding, and it's definitely going down to Cow Camp Road, or are you trying to stop it up?
Oh, yeah, no, it's coming to Cow Camp Road. That was a planned thing for Rancho Mission Viejo. And they're building it. Rancho Mission Viejo, the developers are building Los Patrones. And then Michael Crayman in April said that he, through transportation corridor laws, was going to take it over and make it a toll road.
So is it a done deal that it's going through as far as Cow Camp Road, or is that still in debate?
We're fighting. The city's filed a lawsuit. We're fighting. We're fighting it. We believe it should remain free, and we'd like the 241 to stop at Oso and stay there.
So there's to your point of San Clemente not engaged beyond the border of San Clemente.
And how does San Clemente have the standing to stop it outside of their city borders? How can they sue to stop it somewhere else? How can the city sue to stop it in a...
There are so many issues that have gone on with this process between the closed-door deals and, there's just such unclean hands in this, and it has not been done in a transparent way. Caltrans, one of their missions is transparency and public input. Nothing has been going through the citizens, the residents, the taxpayers. This has all been done behind closed doors, little buddy-buddy deals. And
Brown Act violations and open meeting laws.
But so San Clemente can stop, because obviously that's not San Clemente, we're
there's
Tesoro High,
ethics
so
issues.
it's open, it's really unincorporated area
but
there.
ethics issues and illegalities are not limited to
anyone
border.
Can sue anyone
Anybody
anytime.
can, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right, so last question, then we'll have to wrap it up. You all want to stop this thing. I've been saying stop it for years. I, like you, thought it had been stopped with all these environmental lawsuits. And then when they settled, I guess it opened the door to starting it all up again here. And you're trying to stop this thing. How do people fight it? How do they go? How do they get active? How do they get involved? Because I applaud you if you're trying to. My assumption was it was this incrementalism. They were going to get it past Tesoro High School, then down to Cow Camp. The next thing is another half a mile down to Ortega Highway. Once they get there, then they start crossing Ortega Highway into what is San Clemente and the back end of San Clemente and all that stuff. It's just little bit by little bit they keep chipping away.
By the way, it's not limited to Orange County. Their intention is running all the way down to the border.
Well, okay, that's a whole nother thing.
And so, Paul, to answer your question, anyone listening can go to notmytollroad.com.
Not My Toll Road.
Right.
I like that.
We have a Facebook page. We have websites.
Right.
We encourage you to, come out, get active. You can reach out to me directly. You can reach out to Rod, Michelle,
Give us some numbers.
anyone.
Give us some numbers or emails, or how do people reach you if they don't want to go there?
Well, again, notmytollroad.com.
Everything is on there. So it's a very
Facebook.
user-friendly website and an action of the day.
Right.
It's really going to be their easiest, best place to check. And then there's a Coalition to Save San Clemente.com site as well. They can check out both of them.
And what's the next milestone that comes up? A lawsuit, does everything stop while the lawsuit is being, or do they keep grading and going forward with all this stuff? Does the lawsuit grind it to a halt again, or are they still?
Depends if any of the elected officials that basically have stood up and said no if it's going to impact communities actually do more than just put out a statement. There needs to be somebody that holds them accountable in their current behavior, puts them on record or on notice of saying no, why are you doing this? There's no justification, and starts cutting out their funding and deteething them from their eminent domain.
Because it sounds like right now it is incrementally, I didn't realize this, moving past Tesoro.
Yes.
That is absolutely their plan.
And it will keep going forward, and this lawsuit may or may not stop that from happening.
Well, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here talking about it, raising awareness. People are confused, and that's exactly what the TCA wants, is for San Clemente residents, any residents of Orange County, to think that this was settled and that there won't be a toll road.
There is no distracting these people that are involved in this right now. And if you don't believe me, look at what happened over 18 years.
You guys have already got more attention than anybody else did further up the road.
There was no distracting people in derailing the rail on the beach. There was no distracting people from ending the friggin' watershed threat. There was and I could name another 4 or 5 fights just in the last 30 years where there was no distracting people. Once they have their teeth in this, that part of the county will take you down. It will take years, it'll take decades, but they will take you down. Okay, and that's what's going to happen here. And I will add one more thing as a resident of that part of the county for almost 30 years. There's always been alternative routes. There's always been arterial routes. Anybody who knows their way around can get from South County all the way to El Toro, at least, on either side of the freeway in alternative routes to the 5. So these additional arterial roads that have been added to that network only improve those alternative routes.
And I'll tell you the proof of that one is
$1.6 billion on a route that will never be used, that is economically discriminating against people that are retirees that have limited income, is the most irresponsible thing an elected official can approve.
Okay. Well, on that note, we'll go. La Plata is certainly, La Plata or whatever it is, La Plata or La Plata, the one, La Plata that goes from basically the Ortega Highway. It's the continuation of what.
It's fantastic, and it's working.
And and all of a sudden my wife showed it to me a few months ago. She said, "Oh my God, we can now go down to Pico in half the time it takes to go down the Ortega Highway, get on the freeway, go south, and get to Pico. It's much faster."
Maybe the toll road should just take over La Plata and basically turn it into toll lanes.
There you go.
I don't say it because I fear that.
No, I'm saying it for one reason. Everybody who's buying in Rancho Mission Viejo that thinks this is not affecting them, the same irrational behavior and taking, through overhanded, elitist, dictatorial, draconian bullshit, could put your road that connects your neighborhood to the beach called La Plata, into the hands of 2 or 3 toll lanes that you will have to pay from $7 to $20 for each way.
And don't we pay enough?
Yeah.
Well, we already paid for
Can I
these
ask you
roads.
one last?
It's
I don't.
outrageous.
I don't want to start
Stop
another
paying the
whole
toll tax.
I don't want to start another whole storm. So go around the room. All three of you give me a quick answer. Why are? It's my opinion. It seems like almost every politician is for this. Why?
Lines their pockets, supports people they've already made relationships with. I mean, why do people basically stick too long to a position that is actually the wrong side of something, morally or historically,
I don't
or
know.
their neighbors, right?
So
Because
many city councils are in favor of this. So many, we have lots of, and again, maybe it's overwhelmingly Republicans because so many of these are Republican districts and Republican representatives and stuff, but they have been historically. Now, you've gotten some of the upper ones, the U.S. House of Representatives, the ISA, and
Senators.
state senators like Pat Bates and some others have now said maybe not, or maybe you should think about this, or they haven't come out and said no. I haven't heard any of them stand up and say no.
They've actually said no to any toll roads that impact established communities and quality of life,
That's a
and
pretty strong statement.
that the routes being proposed are ones they cannot support because they will do irreparable damage to those communities.
So why aren't all the other local politicians, many of whom sit on the board of this TCA or send representatives there, why are they still not coming out that forcefully? They're saying no to this route and that route. They're saying let the process continue. They're saying lots of other things, but there isn't this unified opposition. It's my perception, I may be wrong, that most politicians, city council people, and up are supporting this thing, openly or quietly.
Because they feel that they are protected within their little fiefdoms from the impact of other people basically that are in another county. Oh, you can't vote me out of office. You can't whatever. You just had a caller that said her daughter is starting a family in a community where somebody yesterday basically voted against San Clementians. You think that the reach is not there? Let me tell you, the reach is there. The people that live in South County don't live there because they have no other choice. They choose to live there, to spend the high prices for property.
I do.
To establish, these are people that went there, they built homes, they raised families, and they are now retiring there by choice.
And the quality of life is everything to those people.
Right.
That's
It's
what I know.
everything.
Right, and that their children are moving a little further away. The fingers spread out, and anybody who's an elected official that thinks that they're
But
somehow
until you
protected
throw
behind
some
a
of them
citadel.
out, and that's when everybody will turn.
That's true.
Let me ask you something. What happens next year if we're sitting here talking about how San Clemente and the effort on the toll road, and 5,000 people voted against a person at the supervisor level, okay, that basically San Clemente and South County actually changed the composition of the Orange County Supervisor Board? What would that do to Orange County?
It'd send a chill through everybody, and suddenly they'd all flip, which is the same thing that happened in the
Get your coats ready
airport.
because it's going to get cold.
Are there any candidates on the horizon, Democrat, Republican, anybody, that are running for any of these city councils or any of these supervisory seats that has a remote chance of winning that has come out against this, that's made this their fight? Because oddly enough,
Douglas Applegate came out against it, which
So
also
did Levine.
Mike Levine did. The Daryl Issa came out against it. That tells you exactly,
Well, that shocked me.
that was a close race. That was 1,700 votes.
Yeah.
That Daryl won by.
Right.
Okay.
And he's probably one of the more rabid
I will
right-wing Republicans in
I
this
will make a bet
House.
today. Okay, I will make a bet today that there will be other candidates that are running for city council seats in communities not limited to South County, as far as Irvine or more, that will come out on some position on the toll road. This is an issue-based thing that will be county-wide in 2018, and if you're on the wrong side of this, you will lose politically.
and somebody will step up to be on the right side of it.
Yes, because it is a wedge issue. Look at it. Forget about being moral about this. The numbers, the issue, the strength of voters. I may not be able to vote for somebody, for example, in Fullerton.
Right.
But if they come out against the toll road situation, I sure as hell can fund their campaign.
And also, don't forget about social media.
And
we
social
all
media.
we all have friends,
Yeah.
all over.
Well, that seems like that's where you got to take the fight. You got to get some of these politicians. You got to get some politicians to stand up with you, either candidates or current politicians,
Well-
and they win, and the other side loses. That'll flip everything.
We're working on it.
Get ready. 2018 is going to be very interesting.
I mean, we haven't been mobilized for that long, Paul.
No.
3 months. 3 months has been going on.
In the months that we have been mobilized, we've gotten statements from Isa, Bro, Bates, Rancho Mission Viejo's come out and said the area does not need the toll road. They support Las Patronas being free.
That was shocking. I mean, the ranch itself, you would think would be silently pushing for this to happen here.
Todd Spitzer, what was his comment, Michelle? He couldn't believe it. He was shocked when they came out against it.
Well, Todd Spitzer supposedly is running for district attorney.
Yeah, again,
well,
he's got to
if
run
he's running
for
for
something.
district attorney, okay, sitting on the toll road right now, the behavior that he basically does between now and 2008 will basically be part of what follows him as a positive or a negative in that role, because he will be basically asking people to allow him to represent them legally. And if you have an agency that says enacting illegal aspects, and thank you, Todd, for basically standing up for those violations in civil rights.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, because there was no other option. You cannot sit quietly and then run for a district attorney on something like that.
You
It's going to
could.
come back. not when it's
could.
high visibility. It's
Right.
going to come back. You're going to have to be in a position where you have to answer it.
There are videos.
Yes, and there's videos. Thank you. There's videos. There's documents. Thank you, Internet. Everything is
Is
available.
the
now.
San Clemente City Council 100% behind us, or are they divided? I know they voted to go forward with the lawsuit.
Full resolution, unanimous against the toll road.
Okay. Any toll road or just the Route 14 that goes through their town?
Toll roads through San Clemente is what they stood for. But we never said, we're okay with this. Just like San Juan Capistrano. They're against the toll roads that run to their community. I completely understand that. They didn't throw San Clemente under the bus. What Mission Viejo did yesterday is make a resolution about something that was unnecessary with the intention, and they said it, okay, is that we were ground zero. Mission Viejo is ground zero to the toll road, but somehow the negativity of being ground zero for the toll road all these years is something we completely can shed away and basically say, oh, well, San Clemente, I guess it's your turn to be ground zero.
Yeah, right.
You know how many people were sitting in that audience that were from San Clemente looked at that ground zero comment and said, are you friggin' kidding me? You're ground zero because the thing ends at your thing, but and you've been impacted by freeways, but you're sitting there somehow asking us to be empathetic, but you're just about to unleash the same thing. Okay with in your mind?
That's been the strategy all along. That's my argument. They just divide and conquer. They get one community to fight it, and all the others ignore it, and then until it comes to their doorstep.
Paul, no individual can escape from one thing, and that when it comes to meeting somebody on the street, that one individual does not have the power of the group of the board that they sit at. They are going to look at that person, that constituent, that voter, that neighbor, okay, that person that's from another community that's spending money in their town, and they're going to have to look eye to eye and answer them, how the heck do you tell me with one breath that you are ground zero, and I should feel sorry for you having suffered so long, but then you are okay to unleash that suffering on another community? As a human being, you tell me what why. You explain to me how you could live with yourself, look yourself in the mirror, and do that.
And again, destroying communities and established communities.
Established communities. This is not new building.
Where the largest single investment that the majority of any of us have is our homes.
Yeah.
And there could be losses of up to 30% in value.
Who wants to
And
be next
again,
to a freeway?
Up to 9,000 homes that never ever knew nor expected to have, a flyway going above them, near them, backyard, too close to 6 schools. I mean, the list goes on and on.
All right. Well, I wish we could go on and on, but we're dead for today here. Any final comments, thoughts? Give us a site again, and then we'll wrap up here.
www.notmytollroad.com. Thanks to Michelle.
Michelle, go ahead.
That's wonderful. And check out the Coalition to Save San Clemente,
Yes.
too. They're doing great work.
Thank you,
Thank
ladies,
you.
for being here. Thanks, Paul, for joining in. And anybody who's listening, please let us know what you thought of the show or any topics of interest that you may want us to talk about. People say that this is, what's this got to do with seniors? Well, you heard Laura talk about exactly what it does. It has direct impact to retirees and seniors whose primary asset is the equity in their homes that they are counting on. That is their bank account that they're counting on to basically see out their life in a quality of life setting such as South County. And you can reach us with any comments at the Raad Life on Facebook, or you can email me at raad.ghanTous@gmail.com.
And we're doing this at the end of August. Those listen later as a podcast. So is there any milestone coming up that people should be aware of? There's a major meeting. There's a vote coming. There's something that you have a chance. There's a choke point in this process, or is it just the lawsuit at this point?
Michelle?
I think in October, the TCA will be having their monthly meeting. It would be wonderful if you could come to the monthly meeting at the TCA any month. They're not meeting next month, but they will be meeting in October.
And where do they meet?
The Coalition to Save San Clemente is having a
Irvine.
fundraising event on September 9th at the Reserve in San Clemente. And we're, we've been really awesome for the last few months raising the money for the lawsuits or, whatever we're going to be needing.
What kind of event? What kind of event is it, Michelle?
It's a family event. We're going to have, face painting, magicians, a lot of fun things. So it's just a lovely family event.
Magicians, are you going to make the toll road disappear?
I'm sorry? I wish.
If you're going to have magicians there.
I have a feeling it'll take
How
some time.
do people find out about the event?
I would go to the Coalition's website, Coalition to Save San Clemente, and the information should be on there.
We'll post. Well, I'll post it on the page a little bit later too, as well as remind people of the website for the Not My Toll Road. And I'll tell you,
and join us on Facebook too. Not My Toll Road.
Not My Toll Road on Facebook. These people fighting this fight are going to be at every TCA Toll Road Transportation Corridor Authorities meeting every month that they're meeting.
Which, by the way, is the second Thursday of the month, and the address is 125 Pacifica in Irvine.
That's what I was going to ask.
Perfect. And as well as they will show up at your city's city council meeting. Okay, they will be wearing red, and they're going to basically be fired up. So this isn't going away. Nobody who's talking about this is under any false impression that it is a sprint. We completely understand this is a marathon, and we have the stamina to fight this. It ain't going away just because you ignore it.
Tune into the Raad Life.
Join us.
More. All right, here we go.
Join us in the fight.
Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Rod Gontos on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here's your host, Rad Gontos.
Let's face it, not all company challenges are the same, which is why Strategic Market Intelligence can help identify the actionable information you need to be more competitive. Gain a better understanding of your brand, competition, best prospects, or new products